AIP family, it is the last episode of this series of the podcast. Now, 3 months ago today, some of you were sat in Victoria Warehouse in Manchester and plotted your goals. And we asked you to think about how you would feel 3 months from now. It is now 3 months from then. So I talked to you in this episode about the changes I've made in the last quarter and what I'm planning to do for the next. I really hope it gives you a chance to reflect on your own goals for the past 3 months and the next 3 months to come. And you'll hear more about the next series. Guys, welcome to the final episode of Series 2, and I decided to go solo again. It is 3 months today, the 25th of June, since we did the Anything is Possible conference. So today I'm going to recap on where I am at 3 months later, and hopefully it'll inspire some thinking for you. Even if you didn't come to the conference, it can show you what can be achieved and what can change in 3 months. So, at the conference, everyone was given a workbook, and we worked from the Wheel of Life that cover various areas of your life. So I thought I'd talk about my areas since the conference ended. Has it gone how I wanted it to since it finished? So, gosh, my intentions were that I was going to be able to start to immerse myself in it, in Anything is Possible, a lot more, like 2 to 3 days a week post the conference. But as most of you know, I've had an events agency for 11 years, and we have just finished on the end of March on our most successful year ever in 11 years with 72% growth. And obviously that has not come without hard work, but that's probably a whole other podcast. We had the most phenomenal year, which meant that we were working, 6 to 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. And I know there's a lot of talk around hustle culture nowadays, but to be honest, we had to work that way to achieve the goals that we wanted to. So my plan was for quarter 2 to recruit a leadership team, and we are still recruiting, but we haven't been able to recruit the roles that I need to be able to free myself, which is an ops director, a client services director, and senior project managers. So unfortunately, the time that I wanted to spend in the working week on Anything is Possible has not happened. So how does that make me feel? Does it make me feel like I've failed? Yes, it does a little bit. It makes me feel like I've failed the community, because I feel as if we had, 250 really engaged people in the audience on the 25th of March. I've had over 200 individual pieces of feedback from speakers, from people that attended, from event partners, who basically said that it had changed their life for the better. I've had people that have been promoted in their job. I've set up a business. I've left relationships. I've made just massive strides in their health and fitness, gone to therapy. So I absolutely know what we did on that day changed lives, which was my intention. So yes, I feel like I've failed the community a little bit, because I wanted to be massively active in our Facebook group. I wanted to make sure that I was sharing content every day, and that I was sharing really useful content from other platforms. And I have really done the best that I can do in the time that I've got running Make Events, and also my other business, which I don't really talk about, which is HM Events, which is private parties for, clients that can afford that kind of luxury party. And I only do 6 a year of those, and that has gone really busy as well. So I'm sorry to everybody out there that might have wanted more in terms of engagement since the conference, but hopefully that gives you some understanding as to why. The good news is the conference is going to happen in 2024. We're just waiting to confirm a date with a venue, and we'll be announcing that shortly. So, okay, maybe this year isn't perfect, not exactly how I wanted to do it, but the conference is 100% happening in 2024. My goal last year was to sell out AIP, which we did, was to do 6 private parties a year for HM events, which I did, and to hit a financial target for Make events, which we did. So I'm hard on myself, and I rated my career at 7 at the start of the conference, and I would say it's 8 now. The other thing that I'm going to do is start to recruit for Anything is Possible. So we're looking at an in-house content producer and also a senior events producer. So that should hopefully mean that by the time that next year comes, we will have a mini team for Anything is Possible. So the next part of the Wheel of Life and things I've been working on, which I've shared about, is my journey with Lifestyle Lean. So at the end of last year, I had reached the point where I wanted to change a lot of habits. And they were namely, I felt like I was drinking more than I wanted to, in terms of that stress drink after work. Obviously, that goes hand in hand with the kind of hours that I was doing. And then at the weekend, I just wanted a release because I'd potentially work a Saturday or a Sunday. So I wanted that release. So I wanted to change that. I wanted to change my body composition. So it wasn't about weight for me, but it was about a shift from body fat to muscle. As I was getting older, I was noticing slight changes in my body that I didn't like. And I wanted to make sure that I was being as healthy as I could so that outwardly was reflecting inwardly. I was also going to the gym 6 times a week, and if I didn't go 6 times, I'd be really stressed out, and it was making me really tired, and I wasn't really enjoying my sessions, and I just knew I'd come to a point where I knew I needed to make a change. I would outwardly appear healthy, but actually was I making progress? I was popping off with injuries all the time. I was grabbing sugar and chocolate because I'd be working late, and we've always got sugar and chocolate here in the office. So I wasn't in a place I wanted to be in December, and I wanted to get on the stage on the 25th of March and make sure that I was proud of myself and I'd done everything I could do on the 3-month run up to the event to look after myself. I didn't want to be disappointed that I drunk too much or I hadn't, been to the gym and a right amount of times. So I joined Lifestyle Lean, which is a fitness community, and I've made absolutely loads of changes. People always worry. I've looked at Lifestyle Lean for ages, wondering whether to join it. Will it be too expensive? But as I said at the conference, I'd got to the point where I didn't want to stay the same. So I was prepared to make the change in the investment. So I just thought I'd tell you some before afters, which are not to do with aesthetics. So before joining Lifestyle Lean, some days I would only do 3,000 steps. I was in the office, and if I was out of the office, maybe 8 to 10,000, but that would also include a run if I'd been training. I was training 6 times a week, but not really making any progress. I was doing Barry's boot camp 2 to 3 times a week, but at beginners. I was eating probably not that many carbs, but if I was going out for dinner, I'd have chips and garlic bread, and I'd be having sugar, etc. What else was I doing? Yeah, I wasn't prepping any food. Obviously drinking, as I mentioned. So since I've joined, I'd say the major changes are, so I do at the moment, which is hard, 14,000 steps a day, but I tend to do my podcast research, so listen to podcast guests while I'm walking. I drop my training sessions to 5 times, lifting heavier weights and up to intermediate and Barry's. I never, ever trained in the gym on my own. I hated it. And if you told me this time last year, I would absolutely love going to the gym on my own. That is what I do now. So my sessions have changed, and I do 2 sessions on my own in the gym, and that I literally never thought that would happen in my lifetime. I food prep as best I can around the fact that I obviously have a bit of a hectic job that does involve food and drink. And I'd probably say that I've cut my drinking down by about 80%. So whereas before I would have 2 to 3 nights a week where I might grab a glass of wine, I would definitely have a drink on a Friday or Saturday and then a night out. I'm potentially going 2 weeks with nothing, or 1 week having 2 to 3 glasses. I've had a couple of blowouts, but nothing to what I would have done before. And you know what? A blowout is fine if you're doing it for the right reasons, i.e. you're on a night out that you enjoy, you're with people you want to have that drink with, you enjoying the drink, you're not just having the cheap drink that's on offer. So I've made huge changes. But as I always say, changes come with hardship and discipline, and there are things I'm finding really hard. So it is hard to get the 14,000 steps in sometimes, around running a business with 20 people and all the other things that I need to do. I am missing going out. Like, I love going out, and I have had to cut that down because while you're in the first phase of like changing body composition, and don't get me wrong, I'm not like doing bodybuilding competition or anything like that, but I'm just leaning up. So my weight's not really changing particularly, only a little bit. It's more about the body composition. So you can't be going out for meals all the time. And I really, really miss that. Love going out. Love restaurants. So and there's been a few weeks when I've been kind of resentful of it and felt a bit down, and then just remind myself that, you know, nothing ever comes without hard work. So that's on the fitness side of things. Again, one thing that to share with you, 10 days before the Anything is Possible conference, I actually found a lump, and I put it off going to the doctors because a client wanted a meeting at a particular time, and I'll always prioritise a client. The next day, I sadly found out that Jacqueline Gold, CEO of Anne Summerd, had passed away from breast cancer. And for those of you that have listened right back to the podcast, Jacqueline was our first ever guest, and she talked about checking her breasts every month. And you know, the news that she'd passed, which was so sad on so many levels, prompted me to call the doctors. So I went to the doctors. This is 9 days before Anything is Possible. And you know what you think you've been a fusspot. And they actually referred me to a specialist. Now, as you can imagine, I was totally panicked because you kind of expect the doctor to go, oh, don't be silly, it's nothing. And they didn't. So that run up to Anything is Possible that week was super tough. But I talked about the CPT training that I've had for OCD, and actually that the theory of that I used that week, because in my mind I was like, well, there's literally nothing I can do this week about it, so I have to put that to one side, not engage with the thought, and just focus on Anything is Possible, and I'll worry about it at the end. What I would say, ladies, is that when I went to the doctors, it was an 8-week wait for a scan. Now I know people always think, oh, you know, private's expensive, etc. I actually paid, and I think it worked out about £300 to be referred and go for a scan at a private hospital, and I would absolutely recommend that. Now, thankfully, the Monday after Anything is Possible, I went for a scan, and I'd never had a mammogram before, and had that, and it was all clear. But it was just a bit of a wake-up call to me, and it ties in everything I was saying about lifestyle lean. I knew I hadn't been healthy up to December, and I was, as I say, feeling like, you know, that sudden, my dad had the stroke in December, and that realization that like what you put in your body really matters. It's not just about what it looks like on the outside. And I really felt that week that I was waiting to go for the check, and certainly the couple of days after Anything is Possible, when I actually allow myself to think about it, that have I really been looking after myself? Like, if it had been found to be something, you know, alcohol is a cause of breast cancer. You know, I had inflammation in my body. I wasn't looking after myself up to December. So I just want to give everyone a wake up call that, you know, it really does matter what you're putting inside yourself and how you're looking after yourself. And also, like, if you find something, don't put it off, whatever that might be. Get to the doctors. And, you know, what is a few £100s to speed up a check and get, you know, peace of mind? So that is healthy and health and fitness. And I think the other thing, if you've listened to Sophie Louise Hughes' episode of this series, I'm really trying to be more Sophie. I think I have to accept that myself as a person, I'm always going to worry about what I look like. You know, that comes from being little. But I do try and have her words ring in my ears, which is the way you look is the least interesting thing about you, and that she wakes up now every day and doesn't think about things like that. And I think that it's just trying to find balance. And I think with being healthier and changing my lifestyle, I'm more accepting of not being perfect, because I know I'm doing good things for my body and nourishing my body. So that's been quite a shift for me, I think, definitely. This last 3 months and the 3 months prior, a huge shift for me. So don't think that you can't make changes, ladies, at whatever age you are. Romantic relationships. Obviously, I've got to say a 10, but what's changed for me there is that as part of the lifestyle lean, it's not just about leaning up your body, it's about leaning up your life. And one of the things that they encourage you to do, if you live alone or you live with someone, is to spend a couple of hours planning every weekend and going through, those things that you don't, the emails, personal emails you don't get to in the week, the finance stuff, the jobs around the house. So me and Joel started doing that. When we first started doing it, he was like, oh, can I not just have a day off? And I was like, we really have to invest this time, and it will pay off in the end. And it's massively paid off. And we also do a thing called completion weekend, which is from Lifestyle Lean, which is at the end of the month, you go through like, are there any messages in your phone that you've not replied to? Are there photos you need to delete? Are there all these like outstanding little itty bitty jobs either in your inbox or around the house? And you basically either do them, delegate them, or dump them. So that's like from joining Lifestyle Lean, it wasn't just about fitness. As I say, it's about your whole life and your productivity. And honestly, I feel so much more. I felt my finances at the end of last year were literally a 4. I didn't know where I was. And since I've been spending time on all this, I've been saving. I've set up other bank accounts to put money away. Our house is on the market because we've actually invested time, both individually and as a couple, to work on things that, are outside work. And by the way, we're doing this around working like 60 hours plus a week. So it's just a really, really good tip. So personal development, how's that been for me? Again, up to anything is possible. I'd really stopped investing time in that. And I absolutely, literally my perfect day would be doing the diary, setting goals, watching motivational videos, and I'd just not carved out the time. So I can't say it's been perfect because I don't have a lot of time, but I did go to Jay Shetty's show. Because I've been doing more steps, I've been planning my podcasts. I am attempting to read. I haven't read anything in the last quarter, and I do fall asleep as soon as I open a book. But I'd like to, at least in the next quarter, read a fiction book and a non-fiction book. So my personal development, although it should be up there, it definitely has got room for improvement. The other thing that we focused on at Anything Is Possible is hobbies and fun. And I'd been saying for ages about cooking, and I don't think I'd cooked a meal at home maybe once or twice in the last year. And again, because of Lifestyle Lean, obviously you go back to kind of whole food, so it's a lot of as they all say, chicken, veg, rice, but done or chicken and pasta or jacket potato or fish or whatever, but it's made me a bit more inventive, and I've started cooking our version of healthy Nando's at home. So at least a few times a week I'm actually cooking now, and I love that. And it's a little, when I say cooking, I mean assembling, but it's a start because I was doing nothing. I was having random meals, whatever's in the fridge, microwave meals, but that's been really nice. And I think it's like a stepping stone. It's baby steps, isn't it? So I've started off small. Next time I get on the podcast, I'll be whipping up 3-course meals. And also with hobbies and fun, I'd really miss things I haven't been to the cinema for ages, but I went on my own to see Sheridan Smith in Shirley Valentine, so that was great. I've been to the Fawlty Towers dining experience, and I really want to do more of that. Something that we've done at home, but we haven't used it yet, is when we went on holiday last year, we wrote down on a piece of paper every place we wanted to go in England, whether it was a restaurant, a village, an amusement or art gallery or whatever. We did the same for anywhere outside of where we live, and we did one for overseas, and they're in 3 jars. So my goal is now over the next few years is to randomly pick these out and tick them off the box. So yeah, jars of little pieces of paper of where you want to go. My top tip. Friends and family. So as you all know, my dad had a stroke in December. He's doing amazing, but I absolutely promised myself that I would see mum and dad every single week. My dad's had to cut down his drinking, and our family was very much a family that, celebrated moments and spent time together with a bottle of wine, and that's had to change. And it's come coincidentally with me wanting to make a change and dad also wanting to make a change. So just trying to do more fun things together, going out for a meal but not having a drink. So it's been a little bit of a shift for our family, but really enjoying that. And it was actually with him we went to the Fawlty Towers dining experience, whereas probably before we would have just booked a meal. So really trying to make an effort with my mum and dad. I've obviously not seen my best friends quite as much because I haven't been going out as much, and I do really miss that kind of thing, but I'm just focused on this goal at the moment. And my sister did come over, but I am really missing that connection and hoping to go to America in the summer. So the other section was home. So yeah, we are finally looking for our dream house. I've had a dream house on my vision board for so long with all the individual rooms that I wanted. And I'm hoping by the next time I record a solo podcast, we will be in our dream home. I think for me and Joel, like, we just absolutely love spending time together. We love having people round, whether that's friends or family. He's got a massive family. So, we've been a bit bougie and hopefully going for a big house, but that's because we want people to absolutely love coming around and looking after people. So that's exciting. And then the final section on the Wheel of Life was finance. And as I touched on before, I feel like I'm finally in control of my finances, room to go, but, looking properly at things. I've neglected everything over the last decade, building a business, everything's gone into the business. So it's been, no pensions, no savings particularly. So I'm really excited that I'm getting on top of that. And as I said before, like, Make Events had their best year ever. And a bit of advice to anybody with their own business, like, I really understand now where my lane is. Like, I am, if I say so myself, brilliant at building a brand, making connections, building relationships, but my strength has never been the numbers in terms of profitability and turnover. Like, we'd done really, really well up to a point, but I don't think we were ever going to get over that next hurdle. And an old mentor said that we would have to buy a business to get to the target that we hit this year. And I don't know, buying another business at this point doesn't feel right to me, or didn't feel right to me. And I brought in a non-exec director 18 months ago, and Joel took on the role of commercial director. And Joel and I always say, like, basically, we are good at the thing that the other one is not good at. And between Danny, Joel and myself, we have as a team really played on our strengths and grown the business phenomenally this year. I can never say that word. You know what I mean? So that finances, I feel that we are, we've really hit a great goal. So yeah, I wanted to just share with you where my journey on the Wheel of Life in the last 3 months. And I hope that those of you that have got your workbook, are sharing similar positive stories. Those of you that haven't been to the conference or don't even know what it is, send me a DM and I will send you a Wheel of Life and you can start to look at it. So this all sounds super positive, but I always like to share kind of the highs and lows. And I feel for me, like, I'm really, really ready to split my time more between Make Events, HM and AIP, whereas at the moment it's mainly 4 days Make Events, 1 day HM, and then AIP anytime I can find around it. But for me, as I said before, I've got to develop this leadership team and find team members to start growing AIP. So for me, really, I'm having a reset, and I think it's hard because, when you're ready for a reset, you're ready for it, and you feel a bit like chained because, I can't do one part of the puzzle till the other happens. So I have had moments of complete overwhelm, of burnout. I even dipped into what I would say was quite a strong anxiety a couple of times, which was a feeling that I've not had for, a long time, over a decade. And that felt quite scary. But what can you do? When you own a business, when you have like a team of 20 who depend on you, when you have clients that depend on you, it's all very well saying you have to, you're feeling burnout and you need to cut off, or you're feeling overwhelmed and you should cut off and be selfish. Like, unfortunately, you can't, because I believe if you set up a business and you ask others to trust you. And that's what you're doing essentially. You're asking them to trust you because you're paying their wages and it's a small business. If you are asking people to believe in you and trust in you and, allow you to be the person that they depend on for their salaries, then you can't go when the going gets tough. And that is the hardest thing about having a business. Like, trying to take a day off is so hard. Trying to take a holiday is so hard. And, my diary is completely chocker from 9 till 5, and then I do all my other stuff around it, and that means that all the strategy, all the vision piece that I absolutely love, I never get time to do. And that's been really, really frustrating for me and has made me tearful at times and down in the dumps. And I just love what I do. And I think that the market out there has changed. I believe in office first. We are quite a little bit flexible, but I believe for our business, people need to be in the office. Salaries have gone up, so therefore, that's reflected back to the client. And I think COVID has really, really changed the events market. I'd be so interested in if any of the fellow event professionals feel that. But I really do need to, this is the missing piece in the jigsaw. I need to find a team. And then with that will come my freedom. So I'm basically doing all the things that I can around that as much as I can with the limited time I have to build a scaffolding of being healthy. And hopefully soon I'll get to the point that they call like the maintenance period, where I can go back to, going out much more than I am now and things like that, because I do miss all the restaurants and the invites places, etc. So I hope you enjoyed that, a little insight into my world. I hope you've enjoyed this series of the podcast. One of the big pulls I've had it is chase the joy, find the joy, that Tanya Buxton said. And since I recorded the podcast with her, when I look at a week with absolutely no white space, as I call it, so literally not a gap in my diary for the entire 5 days, I just think, how am I going to find the joy? Is it planning nice outfits to wear? Is it making sure I've got lovely lunches every day? Is it, finding, if a meeting cancels, just maybe taking that half hour to walk into town and get a latte? But I'm really trying to chase the joy. I hope you are too, and I hope you're still believing anything is possible for you. We'd love to know your stories. And series 3 will be back with a bang very soon, and we will be announcing the date of Anything is Possible Live 2024. Thanks as always for listening, guys.